The Atlanta Falcons organizations have lit a match. They threw it into a room full of freaking gasoline and are calling it a quarterback competition. By signing Tua Tagovailoa, couldn't pronounce his last name, after his dramatic exit from Miami, they've created a situation that could either launch their team to the playoffs or blow up in their future for the next 3 to 5 years. This isn't about a camp battle. No, sir. No, sir. It's about a damn series of high-stake gambles that could redefine the entire Falcons franchise. And this whole situation is way more complex than it looks on the surface. This isn't a story about two equal fighters that are fighting for a job. No, this is about a former top 10 pick in Michael Penix Jr. trying to recover from a devastating ACL tear while the team brings in one of the most talented yet fragile quarterbacks in the league as his insurance policy. Can you believe that? An insurance policy that just 2 years ago led the entire NFL in passing yards. And then he's got a bunch of concussions. So what happens if the ultimate wild card, a healthy Tua Tagovailoa, actually shows up to Atlanta? What happens if the insurance policy turns out to be the better option, the better asset that was signed to protect Tua and Michael Penix? We're about to break down the explosive outcome if Tua defies his injury history, what it means for Michael Penix Jr.'s career, and whether the Falcons are secretly planning for a full-scale reset all along. Here's the setup. To understand how volatile this is, you have to know how the Falcons even got here. It's a mess of broken contracts, broken bodies, and a brand new leadership team with zero loyalty to the past. First, let's talk about the ghost of Kirk Cousins. His massive contract, which included $100 million guaranteed, and it ended with them not winning a Super Bowl and not having a damn parade. But with his release around the start of the new league year in March 2026, the move left behind a trail of over $35 million in dead cap space spread across 2 seasons. That was the first gamble that failed. Gamble number 2 is Michael Penix Jr. The previous front office with Terry Fontenot made him the number 8 overall pick in 2024, a jaw-dropping move that came right after the signed Kirk Cousins. He was supposed to be the future, but in November of 2025, the future was thrown into doubt when he suffered a season-ending ACL injury. Now he's racing to be ready for week 1 of the 2026 NFL season, but the guy who drafted him, well, he's gone. In his place is a new head coach in Kevin Stefanski, and a new GM in Ian Cunningham, and a new president of football operations who is a Falcons quarterback legend in Matt Ryan. These front office moves have complementary skills to each other, but they've made one thing crystal clear. Nothing will be handed to Penix, which brings us to the gamble. The gamble number 3. Tua Tagovailoa, after a turbulent end to his time in Miami, which saw him benched for the final 3 games of 2025 after a rough stretch where he threw 15 interceptions and 20 touchdowns, well, the Dolphins decided to move on from him. In fact, Miami was so ready to move on, they absorbed a staggering $99.2 million in dead cap money just to release him. Because of how his contract was structured, Miami still owed him a guaranteed $54 million for 2026, which is why the Falcons would zoop in and just have him sign a dirt cheap 1-year league minimum contract. On the surface, it's a brilliant low-risk move. You get a veteran backup for a young quarterback recovering from a major injury. But here's the thing where it gets very complicated, or semi-complicated, depends on who you are. GM Ian Cunningham has explicitly stated for both Penix and Tua that they will compete for the starting job. And while the contract suggests a clear hierarchy, the talent and the experience gap create a ticking time bomb. This isn't just an insurance policy. It's a former Pro Bowl quarterback with a massive chip on his shoulder who has been given a golden opportunity to resurrect his career in Atlanta. So let's play out the scenario that the Falcons front office is publicly downplaying, but probably has most likely been considering. What if the best version of Tua Tagovailoa shows up in Atlanta? We're not talking about the quarterback who got benched in 2025. We're talking about the 2023 version, the guy who led the NFL with 4,624 passing yards and looked like a damn legitimate MVP candidate. The most impressive candidate that season. That Tua wasn't a game manager. He was a hyper-accurate, quick processing point guard who elevated one of the most explosive offenses in the freaking league. Now picture the player in a Kevin Stefanski's offensive system. While most analysts question the fit, arguing Stefanski's system is built for bigger arms. Its core relies on timing, play action, and getting the ball to playmakers in space. Tua's greatest strength is his lightning quick speed, his lightning quick release, and surgical short to intermediate accuracy. Imagine him hitting Drake London or a perfectly timed slant or leading Kyle Pitts up the seam without breaking a damn stride. It's a different style than what Penix offers with his cannon arm, but it could be just as devastating. The path to this becoming a reality is dangerously simple. Penix is hoping to be back by week 1, but there's no guarantee that he'll have 100% confidence, even if he's physically cleared. An ACL tear is as much a mental hurdle as it is a physical one. Meanwhile, Tua comes into training camp fully healthy. He's the healthier of the two quarterbacks from day one, and he starts taking the first team's reps as a QB. Suddenly, that competition in the front office mentioned stops. It becomes a motivational tactic and starts becoming a legitimate battle. If Tua looks decisive, if he looks accurate, and most importantly, healthy, then the new coaching staff will be forced to take a decision based not on draft status, no, not on salary, no, but on who gives them the best chance to win right now. And a healthy Tua, even at 90% of his 2023 form, might just be a better quarterback in August of 2026. If Tua wins the job and actually plays well, and I mean well, it creates a waterfall of problems. Good problems to be exact, maybe, but problems nonetheless. This right here is where the whole situation could truly explode, sending shockwaves throughout the organization and even the NFL. The first and most immediate casualty is going to be Michael Penix Jr. A year spent on the sideline watching another quarterback lead his team. It would be a critical blow to his development, his mindset. For a player who has already a polarizing top 10 pick, being beaten now by a quarterback on a minimum deal would be a devastating setback for him. Does he become a career backup? Does his trade value tank? The Falcons would have invested a premium draft pick in a player only to see his career path totally derailed before he ever got a real shot under the new regime. It risks turning their quarterback of the future into a quarter mark of the past. Do you really want that for him? The second problem lands squarely on the front office. A successful season from Tua is a huge term win, but it immediately creates a long-term nightmare. At the end of his 1-year deal, a healthy and productive Tua would command a massive long-term contract on the open market. And do the Falcons actually be willing to pay him? If they do, they're admitting that Penix was a failure, and committing tens of millions to a quarterback with a terrifying injury history could be a dangerous thing. Or the Falcons just let him walk for nothing. Imagine the fan reaction if Tua leads the Falcons to a winning season, only for the team to let him go and hand the keys back to Penix, who would be coming off a lost year. It's a lose-lose proposition born from a short-term win. They'd have to choose between gambling on Tua's health with a massive contract or gambling on Penix's unproven potential after a year of rust. This brings us to the third possibility, which isn't some secret plan, but more of a logical escape hatch, targeting the 2027 NFL draft. If the 2026 season goes sideways, if Penix doesn't look like the answer and Tua is either injured or just average, this new front office, well, they have no reason to stay committed to this flawed experiment. It means bye-bye Penix, bye-bye Tua. They have no emotional political capital tied to these players. A 7-10 or 8-9 finish could give them a decent draft pick. All eyes would turn to the highly touted 2027 quarterback class. Just smart management. But before I give you my final take on how this all plays out, I want to hear from you. If you're a Kevin Stefanski and it's the final week of the preseason, both Tua and Penix have looked good, but Tua has looked just a little better. Who are you starting in week 1? The high-ceiling draft pick you're supposed to be developing, or the proven but fragile veteran who gives you the best chance to win now? Let me know in the comments. And if you're enjoying the breakdown, make sure you give me a subscribe. We'd really appreciate that. So how does this incredible, messy situation actually resolve itself? Well, when you weigh all the variables, Penix's injury, Tua's contract, and the new front office clean slate, one scenario feels more likely than the other. The first possibility is that Penix returns to full health, shows off the arm, and made him a top pick and wins the job cleanly. In this world, Tua is the league's most overqualified backup, and the Falcons have their guy. It's the cleanest outcome, but it relies on a perfect recovery from Penix. The second possibility is a disaster. Both quarterbacks either get hurt or they play horrible. The offense sputters and the team stumbles to a losing record, forcing them to look towards the 2027 draft for any hope. But the most likely outcome is something in between. Tua as the bridge. The next leadership has absolutely no reason to rush Michael Penix Jr. back onto the field. Signing Tua to practically nothing gives them ultimately some sort of luxury that they truly need. And it's called time. Time is precious for them. It lets them be patient with Penix's recovery and to generally evaluate him without the pressure of starting him before he's 100% ready, both physically and mentally. Because of this, I believe Tua Tagovailoa will be the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons in week 1 of 2026. His job will look to keep the team competitive, probably hovering around the 7-9 win mark, while Penix gets full, healthy, and comfortable to come back and play. This path gives the Falcons the best of both worlds. It can compete now while also giving Penix the time he needs before he comes back and tries to be the long-term answer in 2027. The real drama isn't if Tua can win the job. It's what happens after he does. His performance, whether it's brilliant, mediocre, or injury-plagued, will force the Falcons into a franchise-altering decision. Every snap he takes is a referendum on the Penix pick. And data will point out that it will determine whether the Atlanta Falcons finally escape quarterback purgatory or simply find a new, more painful way to stay here. Then again, there's always Joe Flacco. Let me your thoughts on what this situation is going to bring, who's going to be the starting quarterback in your opinion, and if healthy, will Tua be our quarterback for the Falcons organization? Let me know in the comments area. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow. We'll see you in the next one.